Yeah. How you doing?
Doing well. Calming
Every-
down. Everything sounds good, looks good. Yeah,
And
I'm ready.
yeah, let me organize this. Now we're good. Now we're good, man. And
Okay.
hey, 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 Miss Lonita Baker wasn't playing, man. She's like, I'm in here on time. I'm ready to rock and roll. She ain't playing. She in here on time and ready to rock and roll. So we're gonna bring her in, man, and get this started. And Natasha Harrison to come in when she's ready, and then we just gonna come in and party on. And we've first I want to say thank you for offering your time. I know you're a busy woman, and the world stops when you speak, and we follow your commands. So I just want to say thank you for coming in, Miss Lonita Baker, and it's a pleasure having you. Welcome to the barbershop, Miss Lonita Baker. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. If I can get this camera right, you gotta move like
Three's a crowd, right? Three's a crowd. So Sgt Dorsey, Lonita Baker, that's my co-host, and we're gonna rock and roll. So thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in. So
Thank you for having me.
a lot has happened. Like if you mind, we can work backwards a little bit. A lot has happened in the last 24 to 48 hours. So I've seen you got 10 million signatures a day on the
change.org
mhm.
petition.
And
I think I've read it's the second most signed petition in the website's history.
absolutely. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Hey,
And
Fred, can I just interrupt real quick? Can you share with Lonita my StreamYard link so that we can see her on mine as well? Because I don't think I see her when I slip over to my
oh, she's not in there on that one?
she's not invited. I have to invite her, right?
Okay. We'll do.
So we'll need okay.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And your partner in crime just chimed in. And I got a great intro for y'all tonight.
Arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, hey, all of y'all think me. How you doing, Natasha? How you doing?
How's everyone doing?
I appreciate you coming in, and if y'all were racing, I think Miss Baker won.
She texted me to make sure that I was ready, and I told her, I said, yeah. I said, but about 45 minutes ago, I had wrapped my hair up, was washing my face. I was like, oh, I'm going to the barbershop tonight. Hold my hair back down, get ready.
Gotta lay them eggs, girl. Gotta lay them eggs too.
How ironic is that? How ironic is that? You know, I was thinking before we get started, Cheryl, they may only have one device, so that's why it may be the conflict. So let's start from ground zero. First of all, how did y'all meet? What's y'all connection?
The National Bar Association. So before Black attorneys were allowed to be a part of the Florida Bar Association, you know, we have to create our own stuff until they let us in. So the National Bar Association, Lonita probably knows the year, but we met
1925. I'm a vice president, so it'd be bad if I didn't know.
Okay.
It would. Maybe to put you on the spot, but I knew you knew. So so we went there and clicked and connected, and we've been friends since. So that was probably 6 or 7 years ago, since my very first year as an attorney.
Okay. And how did y'all get started on the Breonna Taylor case? What brought y'all together? And but first, how did you get the case, Lonita?
So a local activist in town called me Saturday, March 14th, and said, hey, you know, I have this family that want to talk to you. And I had seen on the news about someone being killed by law enforcement.
Wow.
So they called me the next day. I met with them shortly thereafter. Remember, this is at the beginning of COVID.
Sure.
So I met with the family a few days after Breonna was killed. Not having any expectations in that first meeting. I tell people I'm a former prosecutor, so I'm a person that I'm going to sit back and evaluate all the facts, listen to everything. But when I met the family, Breonna's family, and talked to them and got an idea of what happened, and then subsequently went to Breonna's apartment and saw what happened in the apartment, you know, it was pretty obvious to me that something, you know, went drastically wrong. And so I knew that I was going to be representing that family to get justice for Breonna. So I was on it within a week of, Breonna being killed. My law partner Sam Aguilar and I were, and then we filed the initial lawsuit in April, and then May we're just like people aren't paying. It could be the only story that it came out locally was a police officer was shot executing a search warrant, one suspect dead, the other suspect in custody, and that's all you had. So we have been doing our investigation, talking to neighbors, again investigating the scene. And so we had a pretty good idea what happened. We filed the lawsuit in April. In May, I reached out to another colleague of Natasha's and I through the National Bar Association, Ben Crump, who I'm really good friends with, and said, "Hey, Ben, I have this case I'd love to bring you in on because we needed the exposure that an attorney like Ben Crump can bring, and his experience of working civil rights cases." So we brought Ben in, and that's when it really started to take off, and the world started to listen and figure out and learn what happened to Breonna Taylor. And Natasha came up. Well, she's been following it all along, but when Until Freedom decided to organize their protests, Natasha was like, "Hey, I want to come up." But she can tell more about her.
I actually reached out. It was a coincidence because I reached out on some, I'm mad about this. What's going on? Because I knew that they were protesting every day, but it just so happened that right around that time, I don't even think Tamika had posted or Until Freedom had posted about it, but you knew about it because you're in the mix of it. And she was like, "This is probably a good time to come, but let me confirm, the actual time frame." And as soon as she confirmed, I just bought my ticket, and I bought my ticket before saying anything to anyone. And oh my God, but COVID, but why you gotta know? But and I'm like, well, listen, the phone calls and the emails ain't enough. So we need to go figure out what the hell going on because me and my homegirls is mad. So I handle police brutality cases, but they're not my bread and butter. So this is more of the kind of stuff that pisses me off and fuels me and gets me riled up. So I'm not the type of person that can sit at home and just be like, that's trifling, what's going on. I have to be involved when I'm really passionate about something.
And I think that what Natasha said is important for people to know. People that do police brutality cases, we do it because we really have a passion for it. It's in our heart. You can't just take every case that you see and trust me, after you have one media case, everyone starts calling. Everyone doesn't have a police brutality case, but those cases take a long time. Traditionally, they're not attorneys cannot live off of those cases. So people always think, oh, they just want to no, I make money doing other stuff. This is because it's in my heart to do this because we have to fix it right. So Natasha said that, we do other things. It's not the bread and butter. We do it because we see a need to fix something and the reform that's there.
Absolutely.
That's needed. So.
And go ahead.
I was going to ask you something because, oftentimes we see the police try to dirty up decedents, victims of police brutality. Have you experienced any of that going thus far in the case with Breonna? Have they tried to? I kind of sensed in the beginning that they were trying to make her house connected with the whole narcotics activity. What's your position on that?
Well, and that was initially, we could not get the search warrant at being the attorneys for the family. The family didn't get a copy of the search warrant, but they released it to the media because, as you said, it was tied to another narcotics investigation. Well, the day after they released it, the postal inspector denied allegations in there. They said that the postal inspector verified that suspicious packages were going to Breonna's apartment. The postal inspector came out and was like, "No, that's a lie." And you're not going to get a postal inspector come out saying that, denying that allegation when it's out there like that, unless it truly is a lie. So the postal inspector came out, denied that. The car that they had said that they witnessed Breonna in, she hadn't owned it for over 2 months. So it was so we did have those attempts. And then when the search warrant, showed up to be, mistruthful, then they tried to, oh, well, she wasn't really an EMT. She was fired. But they didn't have a reason why. Well, we had her employment records. She quit. and she quit because she started working in a hospital. Still, and what it was, and when we say fired or quit, she quit her job working for Louisville Metro EMS, but she still had her she was still an emergency medical technician. She just used it in the emergency room. But it was those type of things that they were trying to use against Breonna, because you have someone that's 26 years old, no criminal record, no drugs found in her home, no large amounts of money found in her home, but someone who worked 2 jobs to provide for herself. Her sister lived with her. Just overall good person. Like when you hear people talk about her, like it's a shame that I've had to get to know Breonna through people who knew her, and I wasn't able to meet her while she was here on Earth.
And you mentioned what you saw at the scene of the crime. Can you elaborate on it if you don't mind? Thank you.
So, when we got to the apartment, the first thing you see is where the door was damaged from the officers using the battering ram. The first thing, once I entered the apartment, the first thing I noticed was that there was a bullet in the ceiling, and Breonna lives in a first floor apartment. Not the bullet at that point, but the bullet hole that was going through the ceiling, and she was on the first floor. So that was a bullet had went into another apartment. So that was straight up. Then you see to the left of the door, bullets going through that wall into another apartment. And then as you go down the hallway, so when you enter, it's just a straight hallway, like the apartment you lived in when you were 20 years old. So you got the living room as soon as you walk in, the dining room right here, the kitchen right there, the hallway, and
know exactly what it
on
looks
this
like.
side, and then the bedroom doors on this side. So the hallway ended straight ahead, and straight ahead, Breonna had just stepped out of her bedroom and was in the hallway when she was shot. And we know that because we see bullet holes in the wall, but also that's where you saw a pool of blood there for Breonna. You saw bullet holes riddled in her sister's bedroom. One bullet barely missed the furnace in the apartment. Pots, pans, food shot up. Like bullets were just everywhere in this apartment. Her boyfriend Kenneth, he had only fired 1 shot. And I'm talking, I assume that most people know the premise of the story, but her boyfriend, so it goes, the officers were banging on the door. They're asking, who is it? They're not announcing themselves. So it's 12:40 and 12:40 just after midnight. And so since no one's saying anything, Kenneth grabs his gun thinking someone like, who is trying to get in this store this time of night. As they approach the hallway, the door flies open. He fires a warning shot thinking that it's burglars. Again, no one's announced themselves. In Kentucky, we have a right to protect our homes if we think that they're being burglarized. So he fires 1 shot. In response to his 1 shot, they fired nearly 30 rounds into the home, and they're coming from all directions, from the front of the home, from the door, went around to the front of the apartment, in through the windows. And as I said, they were going into other apartments, small children in other apartments. Typically, Breonna's sister would have been home with her, and her bedroom was so shot up that had she been home, Tamika, Breonna's mom, would have lost both of her children that night. After the parade of bullets into the home, the officers go there, and one officer was shot in the leg, and they say he was shot in his femoral artery in the apartment, but nowhere in the apartment is there a significant amount. Is there any blood from anyone other than Breonna? So that's one thing that we're still like, it does make sense. Like, where's if you were shot in your artery in the apartment, where is the blood? And he was shot, so I'm not saying he wasn't shot. I just don't know that it was in the apartment, and I don't know that it was the shot that was fired by Kenneth, the boyfriend, because as I said, he only shot 1 time. The officers go out. Kenneth at that point calls his mom first, because that's what we do. Mom, and she's like, hang up and call the police, because again, they don't know they still
Oh
after all
my
the
heavens.
bullets, they still don't know who is at the door. So he calls 911, and in the 911 call he says someone broke in my house and shot my girlfriend. Gives him the address. He's on this call for 3 minutes. And the important thing about when you listen to this phone call is you hear him talking to the operator, but you don't hear anything in the background. You don't hear officers coming in for help. You don't hear officers coming in to clear the scene. You don't hear sirens. Like, it's just complete silence in the background. He hangs up with 911. He calls Breonna's mom and lets her know what happened. You know, she gets dressed, rushes to the apartment. While he's on the phone with her mom, is the first time that he hears someone saying, "Police, come out." So he gets up, he goes to the door, and he had taken cover, you know, inside the house. So he gets up, he walks to the door, and he yells out. He's like, "I'm on the phone." They tell him, "Drop your phone." So he, you know, reaches out, drops the phone from where he's at, because he doesn't want them to see anything in his hands. When he steps out, they tell him to turn around, walk backwards with his hands up. He's doing that, very compliant, very emotional doing all of this as well. And I say the timing is when they got the dispatch saying that someone called 911 from inside the apartment. And I just say that from my experience, working as a prosecutor, listening to 911 calls, the dispatch and things like that, being that call was 3 minutes, and he then made the call to mom before they started calling for him to come out. So that's when they realized, oh shoot, someone's in there, they're alive. Let's call for them to come out. When he gets out there, there's an officer that leans into him and asks him if he's been hit. And when he says no, the officer says, "That's unfortunate." Yeah.
How is it that these officers are initiating a dynamic entry, which a no-knock warrant is, and they don't come in? So you guys may not know this about me, but I'm a retired 20-year veteran sergeant in the Los Angeles Police Department, right? And I've been involved in service of search warrants, and I have never participated in the service of a warrant where you knock or no knock, break in the door, and then remain outside. That seems very odd.
Yeah.
Do we know how many officers actually fired? We know that there were several rounds, but that could not have just come from one officer, I'm assuming, unless he reloaded.
Well, he did. There's testimony from neighbors that they did hear someone reload. Yeah, reload. But 3 officers fired shots.
And there were what, like 8 present, right?
Huh?
There were what, like 8 present, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing. When you get that 3 out of 8 are shooting, I don't know. Especially knowing that Kenny shot one time, like, and Sgt Dorsey, you may be able to weigh in a little bit more. Like, I think retreat to assess try to assess what the danger is, not just fire blindly into an apartment and then also 2 neighboring apartments also did.
Exactly.
Well, certainly the officers should have been concerned about background and all of that. They should have known who was on the other side of that door when they fired, and that's problematic. That's why one of the officers has been fired. It's interesting in that there were 8 officers there, and we didn't have a situation that we refer to as contagious gunfire. In other words, when one officer hears shots fired, everybody generally will start to shoot if you have a contagious fire situation. So you have only 3 out of 8. So that means 5 others didn't see anything, weren't alarmed, weren't concerned, didn't feel that same threat, air quote, threat, if you will, that the 3 who fired did.
Yeah.
Is there body cam footage of the entire event?
Not that we've been provided yet. The 3 officers that we know fired shots, they did not have body camera. I believe that other officers that responded did in fact have body camera, and that's just that we're in the fight to get it.
What's the protocol? We're going to get up top with I don't want to say his name just yet, but we're going to get there in a minute. But what's the protocol to get the body cam footage as it pertains?
Now we're working on it through subpoenas
Uh-huh.
in court. They're fighting us tooth and nail. That's part of our civil suit. In terms of typically it would be available through open records request, except that since there was a pending public integrity unit investigation, they don't turn it over because they say that it could impede their investigation if they turn it over. But we see all the thing that drives me nuts about that is here, specifically Louisville, when body camera helps police, it gets shown immediately. But when it tends to hurt them, they fight tooth and nail not to turn it over. And that's just one of those things. Like, body cameras there for a reason. We need it for a reason. It should be mandatory, absent significant like you're truly working in an undercover capacity at the time that you don't have it. But there's no reason that they should not be worn and not be activated at all times, because they keep everyone honest. They keep civilians honest, and they protect both sides.
Are the police unions involved in any of the pushback that you're getting?
This is one of the first times, and I say this a lot to people here, our FOP has taken the stance of no comment until the investigation's complete. I've never seen that happen, where they just don't make any comment whatsoever until the investigation is complete. Normally they're in defense of the officers, but they're radio silent right
now. Now, moving forward with the case, where are we now in the case as it pertains to giving information to the public?
So the Attorney General claims that they've completed their investigation, but now that they have to analyze the investigation, I don't know. And it's not, I'm laughing out of frustration. Sometimes you have to laugh things off, but so he's completed the investigation. He now has to analyze it. I say if there's in the termination letter that we saw for Officer Brett Hankinson, there's probable cause to charge an officer, probable cause to present it to a grand jury. I think if you present it to a grand jury, I think the grand jury indicts, and I think you go through the process. And if that's why we have a jury trial process. So let a jury trial sort out who may be guilty, who may not be guilty, but indict the officers, including the one that lied on the search warrant affidavit.
We saw it was empty, right?
Yeah, because that set all of this into motion, right? So, but he has probable cause to charge him. Why we can't get so a lot of what a lot of people don't know is we get information as the public's getting it too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Yeah. So that's frustrating as well. But
what's the status of the other two? One's been fired.
3 now. So they did the other 2 that shot were placed, and the one that's been terminated initially were all placed on administrative reassignment at the same time. So the other 2 are still on admin reassignment. And about a month ago, they placed the guy that wrote the search warrant on admin reassignment.
Now, Natasha, you just posted a letter from the state. It was as it pertains to the Attorney General and
you mean when they dropped the charges, the felony charges of the protesters?
It was prior to that. You the letter saying, and then you did the someone's about to lose their job. That one, that letter. What was that letter about?
That was where they where the county basically dropped the felony charges. So 87 protesters went to jail that day, and Lonita is the only reason that I don't have to report that to the Florida bar, because I was like, man, I'm gonna just go to jail. Because that's why I made the post, because so many people were talking so much negative, like just feeding out so much negative energy, and just coming from a place of not knowing about until freedom and how that protest went down. And what they don't understand is that all the information of every single protester that went to jail was already acquired beforehand to ensure that everyone was bonded out, to ensure that everyone got out, until freedom did not leave from in front of that jail until the last person got out, which was like basically a whole day later. So that's why I posted that video, and just, you know, to answer the questions, because I get the same questions over and over again. But they charged them with a felony. And when, you know, we're going around the room, planning the logistics of the protest, and it's like, okay, you're gonna go to jail, you're gonna go to jail, you're gonna go to jail. And I was like, I'd go to jail. And Lonita was like, nah, you're not gonna go to jail. You can't go to
And
jail.
it wasn't because I thought she would be charged with a felony. Never did anyone be like, even when we said you're gonna go to jail, you're gonna go to jail, you're gonna go to jail.
No one
Like,
ever thought.
when they was like, oh, I heard they getting charged, because you you start to get work down. And being that I worked in the criminal justice system for 13 years before I began to do civil, you start to get work. You're like, a felony? What felony? And then they came out with intimidating a participant in the legal process. I said,
how?
What?
How? He was not there.
And to see the stretch that LMPD was trying, they're like, oh, when they said in his grass, that was implied force.
Against who? The home? Because he wasn't there. So, but we know now, and I'm not gonna keep nobody's secrets. We know now that he said, get them off my lawn right now. I want them arrested. Meanwhile, the mayor, every other politician or political figure, everybody does sit-ins. This happens. You go to the mayor's house, you go to the governor's house, you sit there, you stay overnight, 2-3 days, whatever. This happens. You go to their office, you run the risk of going to jail, but a lot of times you don't, because they get it. Like, this is just part of the job. I gotta take this with it. He's been on the job for like 14 minutes, and he's already trying to call shots like that. And what it showed me is that he's not afraid to arrest. He's not afraid to charge, but he is arresting and charging everybody but who he needs to arrest and charge. What kind of analysis you need to do on these police officers, because you didn't do any analysis about what was going on in your house, in your yard. No one ever got more than like 5 to 10 feet from his actual home. It was in the lawn.
Well, and the statute just didn't apply. And as a former domestic violence prosecutor, I got really pissed when they used that statute, because this is the statute that is used to protect domestic violence victims, you know, from their abusers who say, oh, if you call the police, I'm gonna kick your, where we at? Can I cut?
Yeah, we in a barbershop,
okay.
Ma.
If you call the police, I'm gonna kick your ass. You know, it's that's what it was for. Or and yes, it protects, prosecutors, judges, and police officers in cases, but it's from direct threats. It has to be a direct threat to kill or harm. Not that we coming and sitting in your yard. That's criminal trespass, a violation all day long. Give me my fine and let me go on about my way. So it was, but what that did was highlight so many things that are wrong with the criminal justice system that we have to work on. And people that truly know me, they'll tell you I'm a very right is right, wrong is wrong person. There are some people who just need to be in jail, but there are, like, our system is too skewed and it's too disproportionate, and we have to fix it so that we don't feel so targeted, and not feel so targeted so that we aren't targeted in the way that we are. Yeah, I don't know.
What do you see as a way to fix the system? Because I often talk about, the two-tiered justice system, and talk about, district attorneys are elected officials and judges. Most people don't even know who a judge is, right? There's so many names on a ballot and you don't know who's who in the zoo. So what would you say to folks to make sure that we start making those changes, even if it's just incrementally?
I think that what you just said is one of the most important things and the easiest things that we can do is to start doing a little bit more research on who were elected as prosecutors and who were elected as judges. I was on a panel earlier, and they and someone talked about having a conversation with Kim Fox, the DA in the Cook County State Attorney. And what she said is just the fact that officers know that they may be charged criminally is enough of a deterrent for most of them not to engage in misconduct. But we have is so many thinking, oh, we can do this. We're not going to get you. We're going to slap on the wrist. And so when you look at the officers that killed, Officer Chauvin, when he had his knee on, like, he looked so like, nothing's going to happen to me. like just total disregard. And so we have to really pay attention to who we're electing to those positions, because they hold so much power and we give them so much power freely.
Absolutely right.
And the other thing that bugs me is, and I don't know if it's the same in LA or Florida, but here our judges go, they're uncontested. Like at re-election time, they just get to keep their jobs regardless of how good or bad they've been. And it's like, lawyers, we got to do a better job of running against these people that we know don't deserve to be in those seats.
I think we need more of us in those positions. And I think a lot of it is miseducation and just, lack of knowledge. So I think that, like, because I used to say too about, well, you got to research, you got to look into them. But at the end of the day, I sometimes don't even remember when it's time to vote until like right before it's time to vote. And I remember being younger, before I was, an attorney and I was more in this field, I would kind of be like, call up the person who I know and be like, wait, who
Yeah.
voted for?
I
waited till the last minute. I'm just being real. So I take that knowledge and I kind of like take it on as a responsibility. So I'm working with the commissioner here in Broward County, and we're putting together a Black vote, a political action committee. And I feel like some of those things, like, you have to take it on as your responsibility. And we know that a lot of people are just not informed, one, of who to vote for, and then a lot of people are not informed as to how easy it is to run for office. So a lot of people are well equipped, a lot of people have the talent, they have the moral compass, and those are the kind of people that we need in those positions. But we have the people, like, there's a judge that ran here and she like changed her name to some Hispanic name in Miami, and just so she could like run real quick. And I didn't even know who she was because I didn't live in Miami, but I just thought it was hilarious that she changed her name to a hyphenated Hispanic name so that people would just see her name on the ballot and vote for her. And she won. And she was like the youngest judge elected in Miami or something like that. And I was just like kind of laughing because I'm like, I'm not surprised, because at the end of the day, that's how it goes. It's whoever has the confidence and or the money to do it, the people to get the position, and they don't have the right intent when they do it. So we need people like me who don't want to get into politics but feel the need to do it. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't think that's fun, but I feel like I can't keep seeing things go the way that they go. So I feel like a political action committee nationwide is a great start. And then eventually we just need our own party. Like, we need our own group of candidates every single time it's time to vote. Like, we need our own people that are vetted, that are literally like, so we community oriented, the hard work, and then we say we're behind this person, then people just be like, all right, well, if they support it, then I support it.
Truly community oriented. I think more Black police officers is super important to the criminal justice system too, and not just Black to make. I mean, because we know not all skin folk are kinfolk, but
Absolutely.
But more community minded African American police officers who are not afraid to get out in the community, talk to people, get people to know them, because that's we have to build that bridge between our communities and the police departments.
Why I support defunding the police is I feel like the system is too broken, and you can't get good people into a broken system and expect them to just be the like shining knights and fix it and just continue to do what they're supposed to do when the system is broken in and of itself. So I feel like some Black officers,
you have to have
I just feel like some Black officers do start off with the right intention, and then they either have to make a decision like, I can't continue on this path, or I have to, when in Rome.
Well, that's why I say we need more, though, because sometimes they get out there, they're on an island. Like, you look at them here, the percentage of Black officers we have in Louisville, Kentucky is way too small. It's not proportionate to our community. So, and then if they're in the department and they're easy to be targeted by other officers, that FOP and Sgt Dorsey can like that FOP, like you. So if we have more to where they feel more protected, then I think that does away. And that's not to say, like, do I agree with some of the reallocate, like some of the main aspects of the defunding the police? I'm definitely in agreement of. We need more drug treatment. We need more mental health treatment. We do need to demilitarize our departments to an extent. So I definitely am in favor of some of the defunding tactics, but I also know and here again, I don't know everywhere. Our police officers don't get paid anything, so you're not gonna draw the cream of the crop.
Because the increase in the allocation, the millions and millions and millions of dollars that go every single year to police officers, it goes to maybe the chief of police or someone at the very, very top, but the officers don't see anything. They see decreases. So what I want to know is, do y'all feel that it's a lack of the types of officers that you just described, Lonita, that are like, do you think that they're not applying, they're not interested in being police officers, or do you think that these police stations are not hiring those types of officers?
Well, I can speak to that because I know here in Los Angeles, I did a radio interview last week with regards to that very thing. And I say here, my police chief, I felt, didn't really have an appetite to recruit Blacks on the LAPD. We're only 9% right now. And I know that there are certainly qualified Black folks. Some of them reach out to me and say that they are being asked, for instance, how many bubbles are in a bar of soap, right? I had a young man say that, he's in a background investigation phase right now, and his background investigator is bothered by the fact that he has...
One second, you're getting feedback. And you're making a great point, but you're getting feedback. You're getting double sound. I want you to make this point.
Okay, what do we need to do? Should I just talk it?
Mute the other half probably for a second. Maybe it's the sound got to catch up, but go ahead.
So if Blacks are being asked questions that are not fair or not reasonable, obstacles are being put in their way. This young man said, for instance, he's got a degree. He sounds like he's, what we call AJ squared away. And his background investigator is bothered by the fact that he has 2 jobs, as if somehow that's a disqualifier. And so I know that there are places where they put obstacles in our way. And that's why, I encourage everybody, who has an interest in law enforcement to apply. Because if you're not there, if you're not a partner with Chauvin, you can't get him off George Floyd's neck. If you're not a partner standing outside of Tatiana Jefferson's window, you can't stop Aaron Dean from shooting her. And so it's not that there aren't qualified applicants. I think that I know for a fact attrition is a real thing. When I joined LAPD, they were under a consent decree. And I know that departments, when they're under a consent decree, can do all sorts of stuff. And then once that consent decree goes away, all of a sudden there's no appetite to recruit men or women of color. And so part of that goes to, community putting pressure on police chiefs and on mayors and make sure that there is a recruitment effort, that there is an appetite. And I also believe that police chiefs can create an environment where the good officers, quote, the good ones, can safely report on the bad ones and not be retaliated against, because every police chief was once a police officer. They understand the culture. They know what goes on, and they condone, they shelter those bad officers. They allow maltreatment for the good ones who do tell. And so it's a multifaceted problem, and it's going to take a long time in order to fix it. But I want to know from you two ladies, because I'm big on voting, and Fred and I, we kind of go round and round. And if you have so many people who are saying that they're bothered by the Democratic nominee and they're not going to vote for that person, no way, no how, that makes me think then they're not going to vote, period. Back to that whole judicial thing, right? Because we're seeing lifetime appointments by this current president. I'm praying Ruth Bader Ginsburg can hold on, because if this jackass gets another conservative appointment, it will affect our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So how do you encourage people to go to the polls and vote down ballot? Because that's just as important, if not more important, than the top of the ballot.
That's what I've been using. Like whenever I get a chance to talk, especially, knowing the platform that I've gotten from being on Breonna Taylor's case, I've been telling people, like, you got to vote. You got to vote. Make sure, because people are mad at the judge who signed off on these 5 search warrants, without really looking at them. People are mad at the prosecutor who took 2.5 months to drop charges against Kenneth Walker for, he was charged with attempted murder. People are mad at Daniel Cameron. Like, you have to remember these things. Like, we can't get past a movement, or, once Breonna Taylor is no longer sexy, or George Floyd is no longer sexy, that we forget about, or Ahmaud Arbery. We can't forget that the prosecutor, down in Georgia, in that county, chose not to pursue, or first didn't do anything, and then when it became public, recused herself. Like, we can't let them get away with that. So those are the reasons we have to know to vote down ballot, right?
Yeah, I think it
remember when judges are like, we like last week they showed one of our local judges giving a disparate sentence between a white and a black mother who did they had the exact, they unintentionally seriously injured someone. He probated the white woman, and he gave the black woman, a 4-year jail sentence. Like, but there was nothing there but we got to remember him when he's up for re-election. And I tell people, like, 2022 is when we vote on these people. 2022. So you got to remember it for 2 more years, right? So we have to be adamant in pushing people. And in terms of this presidential election, I say that all the time. Like, if he wins again, everything that we're currently fighting for is for naught. Like, we're wasting our time if we don't let that man win again.
Right.
I was pleasantly surprised by our Supreme Court rulings last month. So I was like, oh. So I don't know.
Don't get distracted, girl.
Go ahead, Natasha. Go ahead.
Don't get distracted. Okay. So I definitely think that the local elections are what matter the most. And again, I just think that, because I used to be the same way, like, y'all got to remember and don't forget this and don't forget that. But I just realize that people just aren't going to, like, especially my generation, like, we're the fast food nation. I forget stuff. I have to write it down, but I'll set a reminder 2 years from now and say, don't forget to remind everybody about what that judge did, because what you just described, the same post was posted about 2 gentlemen in my hometown with a judge I know. And it's like, okay, this is unacceptable. And, like, you need to answer for this. So people reach out and they say, well, like, how do we fix it? And it's like, well, you have to understand the amount of work that would have to go to digging up this judge's history to actually build a case against the judge. But what you can do easily is just not let him continue to do this.
But but as attorneys, we have to step up and be willing to run against that judge too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Or encourage the people around us. So we can't run for judge and, commissioner and mayor, and we can't do everything. So that's why I feel like we have to be more, like, vocal about people that we think that would be great candidates, and say, have you ever considered this? It's really easy. You only have to raise this amount of money. So I don't care for politics. People have told me for years that I'm going to be in politics. And I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But now I'm at a place now where it's just like, I can't keep saying that I want to see change and not get directly involved. So with regard to voting, that's how I tell people, listen, you have to do your part. So I had a podcast recently with the head of the Wilson Academy in Georgia, and we talked about a ton of racial issues. And I brought up about the comment about, we're not our ancestors. And he said that a lot of older people feel really, tried by that. They feel that that's really disrespectful. I never took it as, meant it as being disrespectful. And I hope that no one else that says that, uses that phrase, means it. I just mean that they were just so patient, and they would train and, like, learn how to sit there and endure these, these abusive actions towards them. Like the kids that were at the Woolworth, I would never sit there that long and let them people bang and cuss at me and say all these racial slurs towards me for days and months. Like, we're just not them. Our response is just different. So I never meant to be disrespectful, because I pay homage to my ancestors all the time. And that's why I will always vote. I don't like Biden. I don't. But Trump is not okay. So anybody but Trump is my move. And I just feel like it frustrates me when people are just so disrespectful to voting, because our ancestors fought so hard for that right that we have to show appreciation for that fight for decades at least, to just be able to have that general right. And then when they marched over that bridge to fight for it, I mean, people have died that have fought for that right, and they still talk about it now, like up to their death. They still talk about that fight and how important it was to fight for us to be able to vote. So at a minimum, you have to find Right now, it's the cleanest dirty shirt. Okay, so ain't none of the candidates clean, but right now you gotta pick the cleanest dirty shirt, the one that stank the least, and do what you can do with it. Okay,
and then we have to be more
you gotta put in place a better group of candidates. If you're mad about the candidates now, then what are you gonna do about it in 2 years or 4 years? That's what we need to talk about. But don't ignore where we're at now. Like, you gotta vote, because that is some BS. And I'm going to Canada if he get elected again. Because I can't.
We gotta vote, and we have to vote for Biden. We can't throw our votes away. We can't do no write-ins. Like, you have to go and you have to vote for Biden. Like, we may not like him, but we got to get him through. We got to continue to talk to him. We got to make sure that pressure him to put the people around him that he needs to put around him.
Starting with vice
president. Only going to be a one-term president. So at this time, like, we know that's who we need to be voting for in November. Like you said, we need to be strategic about who are we going to be putting up for the next 4 years, and we can't wait for 3 years out to be deciding that.
So he could be a
we start to talk about
figure it out.
We got to start talking about what is our Black agenda, because it's 1,000 Black agenda. I see that just from working this case. Like, everybody got different agendas. Like, so we can't even say what's your Black agenda because we don't have a Black agenda, right?
Yes.
I don't know. That's just
But with Biden now, I feel like he's not a complete loss.
Yeah.
Because we don't like him, but we know that he's almost like a puppet. Like, he's not going to really have a brain for himself. What little brain capacity he had, he's losing it. So I feel like we can put pressure on him to say who your VP should be. Mm-hmm. I was originally saying Stacey Abrams because I was like, at least we'll get, I like her, and then at least
she was first Black female earlier, Natasha, and I was just like,
I love her. I think she's awesome. But then I was thinking just the other day, what if Bernie Sanders was his VP? Then it would be the same thing as getting Bernie as president. I would be happy.
Well, it got to be a woman. It's already like the not saying it.
Y'all know how many roles I got.
But the way the world is moving, it looks like it has to be a minority woman, right?
I don't want people to say it has to, because then if he doesn't, then that's another excuse for them not to vote for him.
Gotcha.
I think it literally is anybody but Trump. Even if he picks Freddy Krueger as his VP, we still got to vote for him. Like, that's just where we are. It's not, it kind of is our fault, because like 40-something% of
Marianne Williamson would work. Marianne Williamson. She's for reparations.
In what way, though?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the extent of it, but she was one of the only ones who say that reparations is on the table.
Hey, in what way did she say it? Because sometimes they'll say what you. Politicians are good at saying what they need to say at the time that they need to say it.
Sure.
That's why we can't go by. Like, I don't even go by campaign speeches no more. Like, show me what you've done when you're not asking for our vote.
Facts.
That's why I like Biden, and he was about that. Like, and everything that he proposed, he said how we could accomplish it. So I appreciated that. So I don't care what's on the table. If you're gonna tell me I can't have it, and even if I reach for you, pop my hand, I don't care what's on the table. How are you gonna get what's on the table to be on my plate? Like, how are we gonna get there? That's what I care about. So then I can analyze it and say whether or not it makes sense. Because we all know that Obama should have fought for reparations for us, and he didn't. So if he didn't do it, I have very little faith for someone else doing it.
Right.
So I want to know how you're going to get there.
Well, the Jews got reparations. Well, we're not going to go down that. We're not going to go down that. We're not going to go down that. We're not going to go down there. We're not, because I voted for him twice. But I must ask, how has the family responded, Lonita, to now that NBA players, neighborhoods are now saying
WNBA? I told them earlier, like, WNBA came before NBA, and we're gonna keep these Black women strong. So WNBA, then NBA.
Absolutely, WNBA.
The WNBA has their name on their jersey.
Yeah.
But okay, so the family is so overwhelmed with everything, but they are so appreciative of the support. For a long time it was just them and us fighting this, and no one was really paying attention. And so now that, and one thing I can say is I have I couldn't ask for better clients in this situation, because they truly understand that justice for Breonna, like nothing can bring Breonna back. So justice for Breonna is going to be justice for our community and getting the much needed change. And that's why we really do. We push that. We can't like let that once this is not set, once her name is not sexy to say anymore, like we still got to continue to push for the changes that we're pushing for right now. So even once those officers are charged, guess what? We still got to be pushing for laws to be changed. Like we banned no-knock warrants in Louisville, our city, next for the state. But guess what? Every other city and state need to be banning no-knock warrants too, because they're too dangerous, not just to civilians, but they're too dangerous for police officers, right? We need to be requiring body camera usage, right? If we're going to talk about reallocating funds, divesting from police departments, or down the ballot elections, like we got to continue to have those conversations even when it's not sexy anymore.
Now
that's on us, Lonnie.
I know
we got to push that. And I just want to say about the family, if they see this or if they watch this, when I tell you her family is amazing, you get a complete like idea of what Breonna was like. You can tell that they loved her so much. They're so humble. They're not at all interested in the hype or, the national recognition that this case is getting. They want justice for their daughter, and they're mad. Her boyfriend, Kenny, that was the first time he had come out to a protest that weekend that I was there. And that was very moving to see him in a not like downstate, trying to be involved and, kind of be in the midst. And then to learn that was like the first time that he had been out was like, wow, like that's incredible, because I can only imagine what he's going through to have witnessed that, for them to say that it was your fault. And, these things that have to be circling in his head. Like I sympathize and empathize with him and the entire family, but they're an amazing family, like super down to earth, like fun, funny, like loving. They're a really, really, really great family. And you can't help but just get a vision of what Breonna Taylor was exactly like.
And so Natasha she got to see a little bit, like when I was trying to, because I'm very protective of them as well, just instinctively, because they become my family too. And so when the 87, the Louisville 87, as they dubbed themselves, when they were arrested, we were out there and waiting for people to get out, not knowing how. I ain't never been to jail, so I don't know how long. Even though I worked in the criminal justice system, I ain't know how long it takes to get people out of jail. So we were out there waiting, and as it started to get later, because they protested, I want to say it's like 46 days straight here, maybe 50 something days. Like they've been occupying. So, but around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, it starts to get a little bit rowdier. And I'm like, Tamika, maybe you all want to go home now. And she was like, ain't nobody got out of jail yet. I'm not going nowhere. And I'm like, but it's getting a little, And Natasha tells you, like, she started crying, like, no, I want to wait. Like, please let me just wait. She's like, if it gets really crazy, I get in my car, I'll leave. So she's out there. I'm out there. We was out there to a good 3:34 in the morning before the first person. She wanted them to know that she appreciated the support that they gave her. So she wanted to show them by supporting them, waiting for them to get out of jail for that peaceful protest. So.
And we had a moment in the street in the middle of, I don't know if you remember, right in front of the jail when they were playing like instruments and like making all like this noise and stuff. And I went to go talk to her, and I explained to her that you're just coming from a place of love. Like it's a really difficult place that we are in as caring people, and attorneys, where we have to basically like straddle both of those, straddle that fence. And that it's not that she wants you to miss out on anything going on, or she doesn't want you to be a part of it. She's just concerned, and she wants you to be safe. She doesn't want, you to be in the midst of it. And she started crying. And I was like, don't cry. I don't do well with that.
And then Natasha came back. She's like, she's crying.
Yeah, but we made an agreement where she said, I was like, okay, where your car? Is anything blocking it? Nothing was blocking it. She's like, that's right there. She actually drives Breonna's old car now. And she was like, it's right there. And we made a pinky promise that if anything pops off, that she's gonna get in her car and just like leave right away. So she's not gonna stay far away from her car. So those are the kind of things that go on behind the scenes. And I think that that's a benefit of having a female attorney, especially one that looks like you, to advocate for you in these types of cases, especially because not once did Lonita, I definitely didn't, but not once did Lonita, you know, was she pressed to try to get in front of the camera or to try to make sure everybody knew, like, I'm the attorney for, you know, Breonna Taylor's family. Like, that's not the motivation behind this. And I remember going back to when I was a brand new attorney and I would be in trials and my boss would say, okay, well, like, you basically, like, you take care of the family. And it was no problem because I can do that. And then I can be like, okay, switch, put on a new hat and, like, go right back to being the attorney. But I think that that's one of the gifts that, especially us as Black women, that, you know, we possess, that y'all don't get, Frederick.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Of course.
Okay. The NFAC, have they reached out to you, and have you heard that they're about to storm the streets of Louisville?
I know they're supposed to be here Saturday. Just from watching the news, they have not reached out. Yeah.
Let me ask something real quick. With regards to female victims of police brutality, females who were killed by officers, Breonna Taylor's case is not unique in that it didn't get a lot of traction and attention. Why do you think that is typically across the board? And I hate to generalize, but it does seem that female victims just don't garner the same kind of attention and interest.
Right.
We've been getting that question a lot, and the more you hear, like I knew of a Tatiana Jarvis, and I knew of Corinne Gaines, but then when you start learning of so many more names, I think it's with everything. And I mean, Black women are typically, what is it? We're just at the bottom of everything, at the bottom of everyone's priority list, right? So it's like, if we aren't going to take care of ourselves, who is going to take care of us? You know, we're used to being the fixers and everything, but it's who's there to uplift and amplify our voices. And I think we're getting to a point where we realize we have to amplify our own voices and can't wait for people to do it for us. And then once it is amplified, and that's why it was important when you said NBA, that I'm like, no, let me go back WNBA first, right? Because they reached out before the NBA, but the media caught on to the NBA first. And it's that same situation of Black women and our voices and them typically being muted. And then it's not, we don't see it to the degree of Black men being victims of police brutality, but it is enough that we need to be concerned, and we need to make sure that we're also fighting for those injustices and lifting those names just as we do those Black male victims.
I think it's normal for us to be kind of last, like, you know, Black men fought for the right to vote and then women, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like women, especially like in the legal community, Black women are absolutely the bottom. Like, Black men are even above white women a lot of the time because it's a man's world. Like 100%, no one can argue me down on that, because it just is. It's a good old boy system. And then Black men are able to, you know, finesse that, even though I think Black attorneys in general make up like less than 10% of the entire legal profession, which is crazy. Yeah, I knew it was close to 5, but I knew I could say less than 10. But you know, we're at the very, very bottom, and I just think that we all know. And, you know, Sgt Dorsey, you can chime in on this too, just based upon your own opinion. But I just think that Black women, I was never allowed as a child to like mope and cry and whatever. It was like, okay, girl, get on
with it. So I can deal with it.
So that's what she had to do. So that's what she inbred in me. So we're like, I always post things about like, check on the friends that are all right. The friends that are all right are the Black female friends, okay? We always check on the guys. The men always need us. We're always like, oh, my Black brothers, my Black this, my Black, you know, my Black men, whatever. We always ride for them because we recognize the need for it. But I think that we recognize the need for us, and a lot of other people don't recognize the need. So I wanted so bad to think that Breonna Taylor's situation didn't, I guess, give the same sensation as George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery because there was no video.
I say that sometimes, but I think us being Black.
No, but even when I posted that, I knew that that wasn't the case. But I was like, I hope that is it. And that's why I posted a thing where it was like, close your eyes. I can imagine. We have a decent enough imagination where you can paint the picture. You can make your own video inside your head. Like, close your eyes and just listen to the story. That'll make you mad. You mad now? So I definitely know that that's it. But like Lonita said, we have to speak up because we know that we're important. The same way that, I'm not fighting for anyone to agree that Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter to me. And when I make that statement, it's for that purpose. So the same thing as Black female lives. So if someone's trans or whatever, and they want to say all Black lives and trans Black lives, that's because they recognize that need. And I recognize the need for Black females because we matter.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell y'all though, even with our case, if George Floyd had not happened Memorial Day weekend, I probably wouldn't be on here talking to you all about it because everyone would still be asking Ben Crump to talk about Breonna Taylor. Just from your perspective, what you said of being a Black female attorney. And I say that because early on, Ben got involved right around Mother's Day weekend, and all of the requests that were coming in were for Ben. Not for Ben and me, not for, Ben and Sam, but they were for Ben. And then initially they tried, and once Ben got tied up with George Floyd, then they were trying to go to our other co-counsel, Sam, and Sam's like, no, Lonita, you handle that. And I'm not one, and it kind of goes to, again, what you said, Natasha. I'm not one, like, I don't need to be in front of the camera. Like, I like just being in the background lawyer, my little butt off, like, writing motions, this, that. But I had to take that step because Ben was in Minneapolis. I was here. People were still trying to hear about Breonna Taylor at that point, and I could not let her story die simply because Ben got pulled to Minneapolis. So it goes back to that same story of Black females that people did not want to talk to me until I was the only person there for them to talk to about the case with Tamika.
I think that the more you talk, like in case of Ben Crump, now we know who he is because of his past cases. The more he talked in front of the camera and did the CNNs, like you were just on Court TV late last Friday, and Natasha, and I think that the more that they hear from y'all, I think that'll be critical.
But I think it's all about privilege too. Like, he has to use his privilege.
Absolutely.
And I saw a comment where someone said that, did they hear me right, that I said that Black men in the legal field are above white women? I absolutely said that. It's men in the legal field. That's just it. Women don't get respect in the legal field. Like, that's just it. So take that as opinion if you want to, but it's fact. And Black women are obviously at the very, very bottom.
Gotcha.
Beneath any minority, whatever, like, no one respects us. We have to go in there and we have to, make sure that we don't come off as angry or whatever. I got to the point where I don't care, but it took me years to establish that position where I'm going to come off how I'm going to come off because I know the law so well and I know what you can and cannot do or say. I'm going to be professional. I'm going to, make my point in an articulate manner. But at the end of the day, like, I know what hurdles I'm facing, and that's just fact. So someone from the outside can take it how they want to. But the same way that, people talk about white people using their privilege to help fight this battle, stand in solidarity, whatever. Even in the protests, the white people are in the front because they're that shield, because we recognize the white privilege. There's a male privilege.
I understand.
And there's a male privilege in the legal field and basically everywhere. So if, he's getting these opportunities, he can use that privilege. And I mean, when I say he, I mean,
does. Yeah.
And I was going to say that, and I'm sure that he does, but everyone kind of needs to do that because they're not going to reach out to the attorney that the name is not a household name. Ben Crump has become a household name. So that's who they're going to think, like, oh, I recognize this name. Let me call him and see if he can do it. So he has to say, utilize that privilege and say, no, this is the attorney that's been on the case since day one. She's amazing. I'm going to put her,
Absolutely right.
And I will say, because I don't want anyone to think that we're not. Ben is great about that. We've been friends for a long time. So it's not we're just saying from that perspective
Mhm.
of practicing law as a Black woman.
And I know him to know that he would do that. He's that type of person, but that's just a general statement that
Understood.
you have to recognize the hierarchy in not just the nation and society, but in each field, because it might be different for doctors. It might be, white males, white females, and then, whatever the hierarchy is. But everyone within their field, they know how the hierarchy is. I don't care what nobody say.
You want to take some, they biting at the bit to call in. You want to take a few calls? Lonita?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Perfect. I'm opening up the phone lines.
Well, I see where you at. 1 o'clock in the morning over here.
Oh, shit.
I'm good. I'm gonna be up till like 8:30.
Okay, the phone lines are open, so guys, so feel free to call in. Now, how's the boyfriend's been? How has the boyfriend been throughout the whole entire process? Because he's going to be a critical witness, obviously, right?
A witness. While his charges are only dismissed without prejudice at this point, we're waiting on the Commonwealth Attorney to dismiss them with prejudice. He in his own right has a civil case as well. But how is he? Meaning he's still coping. He lost, the woman that he loved. They had been best friends for over 6 years.
Jesus.
Dated on and off. So I mean, and wasn't able to attend her funeral. By all means, being there, and he's still here to he didn't die. Like it, you can imagine the emotions that he's going through.
I know, I can't imagine. And talk about like how important his testimony is as it pertains to the case. Would you consider, obviously he's one of your key witnesses, right? And two, do you have any hope that like something happens in the Ahmaud Arbery case where the police officer says, you know what, I'm going to testify on, I'm going to give up my immunity and testify on your behalf?
I hope so. I think there's officers out there today. Again, there were at least 8 officers out there. And after the shooting, over 100 arrived to the scene. The officer that was terminated, he disappeared for, a couple of hours. Where did he go? So there's people that know things. Like, so yeah, we always want those officers to come forward. We have a number of neighbors that we have good testimony from as well, and as it relates to them not announcing themselves, of the bullets. When Sergeant asked earlier about if they reloaded, and I said, that's a neighbor that heard them yell reload and kind of heard the clip being replaced. So we got good testimony from neighbors as well.
And just recently we heard that Breonna Taylor was alive for just over 5 minutes after she was shot. How does that weigh into the evidence, and can you speak on the family's behalf as it pertains to knowing that information?
Well, it's no one attempted to administer aid to her is one. We know that. There's no denying that. So they did not attempt to administer aid. Now, when you're talking about how does that play in on a civil case, for every minute that she's alive, that's pain and suffering that she endured. So, yeah. I mean, that's never easy for the family to hear.
Absolutely.
Kenneth had already told us that, when they called him outside, that she was still alive.
Someone asked the question about, does Kenneth need to be in protective custody? And, that makes me think of the case involving John Crawford. I don't know if you guys remember the young man who was shot and killed in the Walmart, and his girlfriend was with him at the time of that shooting. That was in November, December of 2014. And then by January of the next year, somehow this young woman was involved in a fatal traffic accident. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, allegedly, she was in a vehicle that was driving 90 miles per hour. Who does 90 miles per hour, let alone at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? And so does Kenneth have any concerns?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say he does, just in some of the conversations.
We got our first call, 323.
What's up? Yes. Oh man, I'm glad you guys are here. Yes, so in related to this case, a case that to me, I don't think it's less spotlighted than any of the male cases, and I think people are seeking justice when it comes to Breonna Taylor. I think it's highlighted, so I don't think there's anything that lessens it because CNN or whatnot doesn't cover it. I think movements are beyond what mainstream media covers. I think the people's movements are much greater than that, and I think people surrounded this case, and that's why I think people showed up to the clown Daniel Cameron's home, because people are tired of the injustice and his lack of action. So I think we just have to recognize that the movement and the power of people have shifted away from mainstream media. We don't rely on Fox News. We don't rely on CNN. We don't rely on MSNBC. We rely on the platforms that we can freelance from and kind of come collectively. These media platforms and even the movements that had generated around the world, it wasn't done through mainstream media. It was done through the tools that everyday people have been able to use effectively and gain power off of it. And I think that's what people need to start paying more attention to than what white media, corporate mechanisms go about doing. We got to break away from our kind of master syndromes that we've been conditioned to have for so many years. But my question as it relates to the case is, there's been like, I wouldn't say rumor, but stories about related to the gentrification of this area. How true is that about this? Could have been, some people are bringing about an issue of them trying to force the residents in this area out of here as part of some gentrification plan. How true is that story? And have you guys heard anything as it relates to that?
The stories of that came from the complaint, our amended complaint. So those are allegations that the legal team made, and we would not make those allegations if we didn't have evidence to back that up. So there's that.
Oh, so this is real deal stuff. Oh, wow. And my last question, as it relates to the attorney general, what is the process? Can the citizens go about? I know it'll be hard about like a recall of an attorney general. Is he an elected official or is he appointed by the governor? And what would be the process if citizens feel there's not enough being done by this dude? It can awaken the political action amongst people. Can they remove Daniel Cameron out of office? And if not, when is he up for re-election?
I don't think that there's going to be anything that would be that would qualify to remove him at this point. He's not up for re-election for another 3 years.
Yeah, he just got
so
on.
He just took office in December.
But this is important. Why we got to do our research, because
he never should.
No one did their research on him because he didn't have the CV, he didn't have the resume to support him getting elected for this position.
He was elected simply because he has been brought through the political system by Mitch McConnell. So political ties is how he got elected to where he is. He did not have the qualifications to be the qualifications. He barely had enough years to even file for that position.
Wow. And that's the thing that bugged me out, because it's almost to me that he isn't really too vested as far as being attorney general to me. And it seems like he's kind of being vested or even groomed to replace Mitch McConnell, who's probably only got another term before he leaves Congress. Do you think that he's put in that position? Because when I look at Daniel Cameron, I look at his, things he tweets, they kind of play more in the lines of, he doesn't even seem like an attorney, he seems more like a political figure. And he runs along the lines of playing politics in that position. That's all I got. I'm going to fall out because I know a lot of people on the call.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Have you had any interactions? Have you ever had any interactions with him on a like at a meeting, social function, in the court of law?
He came to one of our Black Lawyers Association meetings when he was campaigning.
You might want to give the play-by-play on that.
There's nothing like we hadn't seen him before then, so we weren't really like he came in, did his little spiel, said if you do anyone have any questions, and nobody had questions. Then when he left, we were all like, really though? Like we have meetings once a month,
and
all the time.
Has he come back since? I know it's only been 6 months now.
Do you think he got some of the black votes just because he's black? Because, you know, a lot of us would be like, we're supporting anything black.
Sure. Yeah. Can the governor step in? What's the process? Like, it's no injunction. It's no veto. It's
step in for what? With regard to him or arresting
both.
No,
I'm glad you asked, Natasha. Both.
It's the whole checks and balances, the separate branches of government. Our governor happens to be a lawyer, but he doesn't have any authority to force the attorney general. They're elected. They're both elected by the people. So he's not over, if that makes sense.
So he's going to have to carry out his term. And hopefully, he doesn't get reelected again.
Now, I will say, like, wow, Daniel Cameron scares me. I don't know what's going to come from his office. I did feel encouraged by the FBI when we met with them and their investigation and the broader investigation. It's the same team, the FBI and DOJ prosecutor that convicted Walter Scott in South Carolina. So they have a track record of working these cases and winning these cases and getting their people sentenced to significant prison time. So
we got a call from 347.
Yes, sir. What's going on, Fred?
Hey, how you feeling?
I'm good.
Appreciate
Hello, ladies. How are y'all?
Hi.
Excellent. How you doing? I just wanted to make a quick comment on the term you used, contagious fire. I know that very well. And it's, if you guys remember, a little case in New York City called the Amadou Diallo case. Remember that? Yeah. That case, I know a lot about what happened. I just wanted to, when I heard the term contagious fire, I just wanted to, remind people of how dangerous that is. The story in reference to that was on that block. First of all, what people don't, it barely made the news, but Diallo fit the description of a person that was running around that area raping people. He was raping girls. And that neighborhood is not the best. Even till this day, it's not the best. And the perps would shoot out the lights and make it hard for the police to do their jobs. And what happened was he fit the description and they ran up on him. And all three of the officers had their firearms drawn on him. He was standing on the porch. He didn't speak English very well. He had three people shouting commands at him. And it looked like he was like, one person is shouting at him, "Let me see your hands." The other one's shouting, "Let me see your ID." The other one's telling him, "Don't move." So it looked like he's doing a dance move. And then when he went in his pocket to get his wallet, they lit him up. Now, contagious fire. The story is one of the officers went to step up on a curb and tripped. And when he fell, he let off a shot. His other two officers that was scared, his partner and the other guy that was there, they took off, went to get cover because they didn't know where the shot came from. And they ran off shooting. One of those fools emptied an entire magazine and reloaded. And when the dust settled, he had holes through his feet, man. And they got off of that. Those guys didn't go out and say, literally, we're going to go kill a nigga tonight. They didn't do that. But this was a classic example of a contagious fire. Your partner lets off a shot. You don't know what happened, so you start shooting. That one incident changed the entire police department patrol guide. By the time I got to the academy, that was homework assignments on how to avoid that. senior officer takes control until the sergeant gets there, and we had what we call a triangle. When the perps on the wall, one firearm out, the other one's doing the pat down. One situation changed everything. But those guys, they didn't get any time or nothing like that. It was ruled as crazy as it sounds, it was ruled as a justified shooting. As crazy as that sounds. So when I hear that term, contagious fire, it bothers me. And there was so many things in that department that bothered me. And I made a decision. I said, I got to get the hell out of here. And that's why I work for transit now. To me, it was disgusting. And shout out to everybody that can do it and do their 20-year bid and get out. It just wasn't for me. The hell with it. And I got the hell out of there. And I'm not going to take up too much time, but Sergeant Dorsey, when you come to New York, please hook me up. Look me up, and I'll take you out on that nice little date. Show you my city.
Right. Be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for.
I'm very careful. Okay.
All right.
I got you, man. I got that foot rub ready.
Hey, why not? Right? Why not?
Why not? All right, now, y'all have a good night, all right?
He got a shot.
He's not contagious.
I love connection, right? Hey, I gotta ask you, there haven't been any charges brought yet. What do you think will happen to your city if no charges are brought? I know you've thought about that, but can you give us like a visual and the temperature and obviously if no on the personal level?
No, because I'm still praying for there's gonna be charges. Mm-hmm. There are gonna be charges.
See, she too involved. I could say they're gonna burn that mother down. They better bring some charges. That's why every time there's a rumor that they're about to announce what it is, they board stuff up. I was there and I'm like, where are all these boards? They literally have left everything boarded up because they know what's coming.
Was it you that was like, oh, I thought they just painted that was a nice
they started decorating the boards. Some of them have paint on them. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I mean, this is home for me, so I want to hope for the best. They need to bring charges. I mean, one is the right thing to do. I'm not saying bring charges because it's my case. Like I said, I've been a prosecutor. It's the right thing to do. You can't shoot blindly into an apartment, I almost shoot 5-year-old kids. Like, you can't do that and not be charged. Let a jury decide it.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I actually, well, both of us, she was on the force then, the LAPD. You were on the force then, right? That was like
when?
Doing Rodney King, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you guys are in a state with open carry, correct?
No, LA is not. LA is not.
LA is not. That's why. Yeah. So open carry in Louisville and no open carry here in Los Angeles. And they celebrated the Koreans here in Los Angeles who carried guns. If they formed their own militia, and I just can only imagine what will happen in an open carry state when you got 100% mutiny, or people may call it anarchy, but I call it like what's honestly, in my humble opinion, what's supposed to happen. W.E.B. Du Bois says how this system wasn't built for us. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that I hope to God that we don't have to live through anything like that, obviously, because we want charges brought. But every day I'm a descendant of Rodney King. Open and shut case to me. That's why I'm on pins and needles every time, just as a human being. Like, I'm on pins and needles on every case. And that leads me to the question about media, because I see that they're steering away from George Floyd. I see it on Fox, I see it on CNN, I see it on my local news, that they're steering away because we're protesting every day in Los Angeles. Every single day. They're protesting every day there. They're protesting in Minneapolis every day, Portland, and New York. It goes on and on.
Let's talk about that though.
Yeah.
Portland and these feds, and what are they snatching people? Oh Lord.
Yeah.
And now they're on their way to Chicago. And so, you know, it's going to be a whole shit show because if they show up in Chicago and Philadelphia and start grabbing black folks off the street, trying to put them in an nondescript car, it's going to go down altogether different.
Yeah.
No badge, no identification, no announcement of who you are with the alleged charges. Okay, yeah, good luck. That's what I said. Bring that mess to Florida. But I want to ask one question to you, Frederick.
Yes, please.
You watch Fox News?
Well, I see why you're asking the question. I do watch Fox News. And the reason
you gotta hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
No, I can't stomach it. I can't.
And that's one of the reasons why I watch it, because I'm tired of watching. I'm not tired of watching it, but CNN is very repetitive right now.
Yeah,
coronavirus. They're watching the count. 141,000, 142,000. Like they damn near celebrated when it got to 100,000. We've hit a milestone. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? We hit a milestone. That's 100. So
it's like a competition between states. Like, oh, this state has the highest number of people in the hospital. This state has the highest number of. Yes, I don't watch. To make it clear, I don't watch any news really, unless there's something going on that I'm looking for. But I try to watch. My dad watches Fox News to see what's going on and to, whatever. And he told me to watch it one day, and I saw that Tucker guy, and I almost threw up. Like I couldn't believe that like someone actually thinks like that, or someone could actually form those words, and it wasn't like a parody. Like it shocked me because I just didn't really think it was that bad. But now I get why some of these people think the way that they think, because that's what they watch. Like that's their source of news.
I've never seen his show. 510. What's up?
That's why someone said you shouldn't have watched his show. You should have watched other like shows on Fox. I'm like, well, that's the one I watched, and that's why I can't watch it.
510. What's up?
He's a mess.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing?
So my name is C.A. Latre.
Hey, what's up?
Here's some things that I think really need to be done, and I really think that the brothers need to really start getting in front of these microphones. I think it's really unfortunate in a country where many men bankroll their image and bankroll their agenda, that too many of our men are standing behind our ladies. And we have to really get in front of these microphones and show our intellectualism or our research on the topics. We're a part of the solution, I would say, is that too many of the guys are in a non-source related conversation, or they're in a feelings type of conversation. And a lot of these ethnicities and cultures would really benefit from seeing guys come to the forefront and provide their version of information. For example, city council is really the problem, because since the 1994 bill just to get a restitution, which is what it was all about, that whole thing just turned into a jail for profit scenario, where officers who wanted to feed on people who couldn't afford lawyers or had to wait for the public system to defend them, those officers knew they had that 48, 72-hour hold where they can make 125, 150 a day, charge it to the state just for holding a person for the purpose of investigation or what have you. Guys have to be able to come to the forefront and say these type of things. I shocked my whole company where I'm at by showing the non-Black people that I knew all this information. And when we don't have brothers able to articulate that type of stuff, we do a disservice. That's the first solution. Second solution, I would say, is what you guys were saying earlier about bankroll people who are running. You know, my cousin ran for city council out here in Oakland, where I'm from. I just gave up 4 G's here. Put it to marketing, do whatever you need to do. If nothing comes about it, so what? At least we tried to get in there. She lost, but she learned so much. And so that's what I mean by, we as guys, man, we taking too much of a back seat and we're too opinionated. I'm really disgusted with how opinionated we are, but how lack of source knowledge we are. And those are my two solutions as far as these things are concerned.
Thank you. You guys want to respond to that? No? Okay. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the call, 510. Now, is he obligated to talk once a month, twice a month, meetings, or does he just have to give press releases? I'm talking about the Attorney General.
If he really, so he could do press conferences on him suing the governor about the COVID-19 restrictions, but he don't want to talk about Breonna Taylor.
Has he?
So that's why I say, like, to me, keep the pressure on him. Keep putting the pressure on him. Let him know we put you in that seat, and we can take you out of that seat.
Hey.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
What's the best way? What's
accountable?
Go ahead.
What's the best way for the public to put that pressure? I mean, you say put the pressure on him.
Question. You took my question. I'm glad you asked that. Yeah.
That's what I do.
What's our call to action?
It's kind of like now, like Daniel Cameron can't post on social media. Like he tried to do a post about John Lewis, the other day. And the retweets were like, hold on, how you gonna post about John Lewis and Breonna Taylor's murders are still free? So he can't go on social media right now. He ain't gonna be able to watch sports when they do start back up, right? Because all the athletes are talking about it. Like last week they sat in his yard. The other night they rode by his house honking their horns at close to midnight.
So that's what I was hoping for. The brigade. No justice, no peace.
So it's to let him know, like, we know you
great
responsible
idea
for this, and we're gonna keep the pressure on you. And at the end of the day, if he's not gonna do what's right, in 3 years, you out of here. You be one term, like your whole political career is dead. He does not want his political career to end at Attorney General. You're right. He wants to be the next Mitch McConnell, right? So let him. You'll never become a Mitch McConnell, the Black Mitch McConnell, if you don't do what's right here.
We got a call from 305. 305, what's up?
Okay,
Too blessed to be stressed and highly favored. Hi, everybody doing?
Hello.
Miss Dorothy, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Yes, blessed. And to Breonna's lawyer, I want to make sure I send my condolences to the Taylor family. Let them know that we are praying, or at least I am praying for the family at the end of the day, for the state of mind, because without your mind, all is lost. So I'm praying that if nothing else, God keep their mind in check, and so that they can go on and handle this in a proper manner. And I thank God for you all who are fighting for them. And I just wanted to ask you a question to the attorney, the Taylor's attorney. What do you feel? I don't know if I'm gonna ask this question properly, but how do you feel when it comes to actual justice coming down the pike? Do you see justice, or is it too far out? And what I mean by too far out, is it too far out towards the end of the case, right? Or do it need to get near the end before you can even think about if you feel justice really come in this case? Or do you think that, I don't know, could you figure that out, what I'm trying to say?
So justice in this case is a lot of things. Like you have your criminal case, you have your civil case, but then you also have the things that I talked about. Like we have to actually have reform. We have to have legislative changes. And if we don't get those changes, then at the end of the day, my client is fine, but we're just waiting to the next hashtag. And is that really justice?
Wow. Yeah.
So we have to, and I'm blessed to have a client in Breonna's family that understands that these reforms are much needed. Like having the support of the public makes it that much easier for them to say, we have to do this for everyone else that's out there, for everyone that's fighting on her behalf, right? So.
Right. And also, did you guys get with the family and think about coming up with legislation in Breonna's name, so something that would be in her name that would benefit other families?
So locally, we passed Breonna's law here in Louisville, which banned no-knock warrants and required the use of body cameras during the execution of all warrants. You have to turn your body cameras on 5 minutes before executing, and you cannot turn it off until after 5 minutes after fully completing the search warrant. So we do have law locally. There was also national legislation, federal legislation introduced, Breonna Taylor's law, which would ban no-knock warrants nationally. That's been introduced, but they're not meeting right now. So,
Right.
and who knows? I think that as the general public, we really have to focus more on local and state law changes. Like, we rely so much on Washington, D.C. to make legal changes when we can make them at home and they're implemented, and it's easier to get those laws changed and passed on a local and state level. So we need to really focus on those and work our way up. Like, yes, it would be great if Washington, D.C. would do what they need to do, but how long have they shown us that they're not willing to do what they need to do?
Right. And here I want to speak on Florida, because I've been in Florida all my life, and I've been around a lot of places in Florida, and it seems to be universal in Florida. This is a very, very, very racist state. And to me, if the young people would come out and vote, because there's so many young people who do not believe in the process, and they do not know that they are really being impacted negatively by not voting. If they was to get out and vote, these racist judges that they have to go before can be removed. Because I see a lot of, I'm getting pamphlets at my door. The mail lady, she bring these pamphlets. I'm getting all these pamphlets with these. It's only one judge, right? I don't see no opposition of the judge that's in the seat, right? I'm like, well, damn. I mean, I don't see nobody black running to remove this racist judge. And that's all. I believe most places I go is nearly the same. You don't see no opposition pamphlets coming out. You see it's like one-sided. I don't know if I'm missing it. Maybe it is, but not what comes to my house. You know what I'm saying? And that's sad. And because I remember I heard you say something like that earlier, and that's true here. And Florida is very, very, very racist. I went before a judge about 2 years ago, and he jokingly, but it's recorded. So it's the little lady that do the thing as a judge, whatever goes on in the court, she types it all up. So it's recorded. The judge told me if he could, he'll take me outside in the alley and shoot me in the head. But then he laughed and said I was just joking. And since he opened it up, ma'am?
What judge that was?
Yeah, Natasha's in Florida, so I was going to let her take that.
Yeah, well, you probably know him, Judge Sloan. Anyway, and when he told me that, I said, Your Honor, it would not be a one-way shooting. And we laughed, and because he opened it up, I would never been able to get away with that. By him saying that he would shoot me in the head, and I told him it won't be a one-way shooting. I'm just showing, I say I got to say how racist they are. He acted like he was joking, but I knew he was dead serious. And one question I want to say to the Fort Lauderdale lawyer, I got a question for you. Do you handle criminal cases?
I do, but I don't. I'm moving away from them, but I do.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I got a brother. He's gonna need an appeal lawyer, right? That's why I asked you that. I was gonna get you information. They gave him 25 years plus life, right? With no evidence. Absolutely no evidence. No witnesses, no DNA, no cameras, no nothing. And they convicted this man in 45 minutes and gave him 25 plus life. So we tried. I had to send $400 to the prison where he's at. It's they got like this jailhouse, or not jailhouse, but prison know how the prison guys practice law. This guy's supposed to be very, very good. He got a lot of people back on appeal. And once they hire a private attorney with the stuff that he gives them to arm the lawyer with, he has turned over a lot of cases. And I just thought about you. I was waiting for you to come back on so I could ask that question.
I have a lot of questions, and the easiest way for me to share my contact information is probably just Instagram, because that's just easier. Is it on the thing?
The Lit Lawyer. No, you got Natasha there, but it's The Lit Lawyer on Instagram.
Go to what now?
TheLitLawyer. Am I correct?
Yeah.
The Lit Lawyer.
So I said that's probably easiest, because even if you go to, if you're on IG and you go to Frederick's page, what is it, Silent Heroes?
Yeah, Silent Heroes.
Silent Heroes, and then he's posted the ad for today, and it has my ad, and I can give you my email address and my phone number, because I have a ton of questions, but one, like, I'm not trying to put your brother's case out on Front Street like that, and then it's going to take time. So
right, yeah, and if Fred could put something in the chat for me, because I'm on the phone.
They just did it.
Oh, okay.
DB
great.
Put it there.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate y'all taking my call. I love y'all.
Appreciate you.
And I am praying for the Taylor family. God bless and God keep their minds. God bless y'all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
He's our resident pastor, Pastor Usher. We call him Pastor Usher Deacon 305. I appreciate it. So let me ask you this: do you think that I know it's maybe far-fetched, but do you think this is a hate crime just because of the systemic mindset of the police officers and the non-caring and the no, you just think it's just
wanton murder.
You want murder.
Wanton. So reckless. Their behavior was wanton, reckless murder.
Oh. Can you add to that, Cheryl? Cheryl, can you hear me? Or is she frozen?
I think she's frozen.
Yeah, she's frozen. She'll let me beam her out and beam her back in. Oh, she's kind of beamed out. So do you,
there we go.
You don't think 3 years is too long? I'm thinking we gotta wait 3 years to get.
Don't have to. She didn't say that. She just said he hasn't done anything yet that would put him basically on the chopping block.
Yeah.
So and he's buying time by saying, "Oh, we're investigating. Oh, we're analyzing the investigation. Oh, all of that is suitable. We just know it's some BS." So it's not to say that he gonna make it all 3 years, but there's just nothing to say now.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we get in front of what we can do and we miss the beat. Like with regard to the question about this being a hate crime, like there are crimes that are clearly hate crimes. Like don't take away from those instances by trying to make everything that's racial a hate crime.
Sure. I know you saw the picture, or should I ask, have you seen the picture of him at a beach? Say it again, please.
I said on vacation.
Yeah, on vacation. That shit threw me in a man. I don't know how many times I wanted to break my phone. Just I wish I could just bend it sometimes. You know what I mean? And then put it back together.
Well, and let's not forget, this is the officer that was terminated. It's the one who was on vacation.
Yes.
Who also was in charge of assigning all the off-duty police work, and was also picking up drunk females leaving the bar that he was working at, saying, "I give you a ride home," and sexually assaulting these females. So, in the
state of Kentucky.
So I'm going to take off can I take off my hat for the Breonna Taylor family?
Yes, please. I'm
taking that hat off. When I was a prosecutor, and that's one thing that prosecutors really have to start doing. I knew he was bad police. I didn't prosecute his cases if I had them. When we know that there's bad officers out there as prosecutors, you can't just prosecute their case because they bring you a case. Like if you know that there's evidence of police misconduct in that file, you have a duty as a prosecutor to get rid of that case. And that's what prosecutors need to start doing. That's why we need to hold the elected prosecutors accountable for the people that they hire, for the people who are prosecuting, Like, we just have to hold the whole system accountable. It's everybody. Sorry. Then I can put my other hat back.
What was in his jacket?
Leave my head off.
Leave it off.
What was in his jacket or any of the police officers of note?
It's a lot. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. Like, one of the other officers, Mattingly, had been involved in a because it's late. Y'all know it's almost 2:00 here, so I start mixing people's up.
Okay,
people's files.
we're gonna let you go in a second. We're gonna let you go in a second. DB, come on and call in.
Let me ask you this real quick. If you know that that's the case, is there anything that you can do to then alert the police department and put the onus on them to deal with that?
Yeah.
What can you do? What have you done? I mean, if you know that there's someone who's bringing you cases that are BS, and you know that the officer is, how do you circumvent that? How do you get the attention on that officer so that he's not able to bring you more cases that are not good?
At my office, we had a list, Brady list, because
Yeah.
We had a Brady list of officers. So one, you already knew, like, okay, you gotta, if they're on this case, you gotta disclose that either they done lied in court before, or they've had this or this in their file. So, we had that list as prosecutors. There are, here recently, it showed where with domestic violence cases, someone not investigating, the two officers not investigating thoroughly and not writing out the citation. They had a history of doing that. And I had been gone from the prosecutor's office at that point. But once prosecutors started talking and combining their different individual cases together, like started comparing them, they realized a pattern. They went to the commanding officers. Those officers were eventually terminated. So that's what prosecutors have to start doing. You know what I mean? So.
Which speaks to the fact that I always say is that police chiefs know who the bad apples are.
Yep.
And they allow them to live to offend again.
Yep.
And so this whole thing about police reform and creating a national database and a list, I say all the time that there's already a list. There's a list somewhere. Every police department already knows who the jackasses are. They're on a list. Chauvin had 18 personnel complaints. Trust me, he was on a list.
And Hankinson, the one who was on vacation and also assaulted women and, firing recklessly, and the one that's been terminated, he worked for Lexington, right up the road police department. And when he left there, the supervisor, like his commanding officer, had put like, don't ever hire him again. He was horrible. That's an abbreviation of it. But yeah, a year later, Louisville hires him.
Oh my! Is that considered negligence?
Yeah, it could be if Louisville knew about it.
I made, and punitive damages. If you let me get a hold of that civil lawsuit.
Go ahead, Natasha.
No,
go ahead. Go ahead.
The problem is that there's caps and so much like immunity on this stuff that there's so many limitations that protects them. And I'm like, why do I want to protect? But whatever, that's a whole nother story.
Immunity is a big issue. We got to get rid of immunity. So like cities got to be held liable for not doing what they need to do. Yeah.
And that's why there's more people involved in this.
The whole system, like when they say like that chant that says if we don't get it, shut it down, burn it down, however you want to say, the system needs to get shut all the way down and rebuilt from scratch with people who have worked in it, been in it, Sgt Dorsey, look, and you need all of those people at the table. Like it needs to be fixed. And there's no fixing it. It needs to be rebuilt completely.
That's what funding the police. That's the whole principle.
Sergeant,
you need money to rebuild it.
Yeah.
So what? I don't think we should rebuild it. I think it should be something totally different. I think the entire system, just like you said, rebuild a house. That's the prime example that I give is that you can't always remodel an old house. Sometimes you like that corner lot, it's in a great neighborhood, but you can't
take it down and start
whole house
over.
down. And most importantly, you got to be open to new advancements that are in place with regard to the architecture, solar panels, whatever. You got to listen to people that know what they're talking about. And you can't take the same blueprint and build the same old house. It need to be a whole different structure.
I agree with that.
You know, my final question, and first I want to say thank you for coming. I'm forever gracious. Feel free to hijack, use, borrow this platform anytime y'all want it, Natasha. Feel free. My last question is: they put Breonna Taylor's name on a no knock and the body cam law. How did you take that? How did the family take that, or if you can encapsulate both when there's not any charges brought?
We pushed for it.
Okay.
So that's part of the charges are one part, legal changes on the other.
Gotcha.
So, you know, before, again, like I worked for the city as a prosecutor, then I went to the civil side. I advised Metro Council. So while I know our General Assembly for the state don't meet to January, I was like, hey, but we live in Louisville. Let's get this law. Like they meet every 2 weeks. A lawyer who's a friend is the chair of the Public Safety Committee. I said, hey, we want to ban no-knock warrants. Got together with the ACLU. We drafted the ordinance, worked with some experts, some legal experts at Eastern Kentucky University, fleshed out this law. First, we had some limited exceptions in there. And like ACLU was like, well, you know, people really want a complete ban. And y'all know I said I was a former prosecutor. So I was trying to, but I wanted to pass. So we might need these limited exceptions in here. But then when it looked like we started like gaining steam on a complete a complete ban, I'm like, well, heck, we complete ban too. So it was really a joint effort. Metro Council, they worked quickly to get it passed. I will say that once Metro Council passed it, and it passed unanimously, so across party lines, you know, we got a call saying the mayor wanted to do a ceremonial signing, and at that point he had not terminated any of the officers, and we said we do not need to go to a ceremonial signing. You will be signing it anyway because it was passed unanimously. So no, we would not be there for a photo op.
Gotcha.
You know, so it's when we're out here, we're doing things that are like, we're focused on things that are really going to make an impact, not superficial changes, not like, wow, I'm not here for photo ops. We're here to change stuff.
That's right.
And that's what we need to, that's what we tell our elected leaders, like, oh, you want Breonna's mama where? What we get, like, what have you done?
Do something, dude.
Do something.
And that's right. You gotta celebrate those small victories, though.
Yeah.
Just you can't let them distract you. Yeah. So it's just like even when we're preparing a case for trial, that's the war. So when we're gearing up for a trial, we're in the war room and we're getting ready. But when you have a hearing, especially if it's a hearing on something that you thought you were not going to be successful in, then you win, celebrate, turn up. But then it's like, all right, now back to work. So that I think that's what these types of accomplishments are. This is a big deal. And then you hear people say it's only for Louisville. Okay, well, like what you did for your city then. So like let's let this be the momentum. Let's keep it going. This is a big deal, but we got it's a lot of like goals within the ultimate goal here. It's not just arrest the cops. We want the cops to be convicted, and we want to affect real change so this type of stuff doesn't happen again.
What's the timeline on the city, you think? And what's the timeline did the Attorney General give?
He didn't give himself a timeline. So
he said he analyzed it.
Yeah.
How much time do you think the city has? How much time do you think
the civil suit?
No. I'm talking about just the civilians in the city. Like how much
before they turn up?
Yeah, before we turn up. Yeah.
I don't know.
You might need to slide through and ask them real quick because we probably should know that.
Well,
Well, and when I say they're like all they're doing is they're giving like this young like the millennials, like we like I'm not a millennial. Well, I'm a zennial. For a minute there, you was like, what are they? Hey, they're about that protesting life. And they are out there every day, day in, day out. Like what? So like, I got mad respect for, and they're getting more and more creative here, like with the protests. Like after we filed our amended complaint, with the gentrification issues in there, like the mayor, he's so tone deaf. He went and thought he was gonna go do a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new development.
I saw that.
They came through like, hey, came up through the building, put the sign up, like
beautiful.
Arrest Breonna. I was like, hey, that was like, so I'm on social media watching the protests, but y'all like, hey, they set that up, and all he could do was stop and he thought they was gonna be quiet. They didn't. He had to go into his car, but that was
he didn't call the cops immediately and say arrest them, get them out of here, charge them with a felony. Go figure.
He just left, but they messed up his whole ribbon cutting ceremony.
Wow. Okay, and wreck it all. No justice, no peace. I will say that Kentucky embodies that. Listen, I loved it. I can't wait to go back.
You want to give us your code?
DB, what's good? It's time to wrap this show up.
I know. Well, we could DB ain't called it. So, anyways, you want to give up? You want to give your final? We'll start with Natasha.
Final what? I did this last time.
Well, DB usually wraps it up, but he's not calling in, so I guess you could. So
we just don't give up on DB?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't got no phone. You don't want to try to text them first. I don't want to be like, Natasha put in the show and then she goes.
I don't know where he at. I mean, I don't know. He does a great job at encapsulating the show, and
I know, but like maybe text him.
He can hear you. He can hear you. He can hear you. I just saw him in the chat 5 minutes ago, but oh well. I guess his phone died. His phone must have died because he don't.
Who is this in your chat? But who's coming after you, Natasha?
A potty break. Somebody coming for me?
No. What are you talking about?
No, DB is like is he a co-host? Right?
No, but I don't know how it happened, but he called in. He called in one day a while ago, and he does a great job at making everyone. He does a great job at saying thank you. He does.
He's in there. I thought he was like a part of it, but he's in the chat.
He's in the chat, and he called in once the last time, and everyone enjoys him closing the show. Everyone just.
I thought this was his show too. Sorry.
Nah, he's from LA. It is his show.
I'm looking at the comments now. DB's the executive producer.
Yeah, he is, man.
Get off the pot.
I always say that we're all co-producing this show, so you know what I mean, but he's not. I guess his phone literally must have died, because there's no way in hell he would miss this moment to talk to three beautiful women. So
y'all have to bring me back when I'm not the Breonna Taylor family, because I can say so much more when I don't have that hat.
I
did take it off.
Well, come that's DV. What's up, DV? Oh, my back of my head hurt from laughing. So oh man, what's up, DV?
Oh man, I'm feeling good, man. This is phenomenal, man. The information that we get from these goddesses and queens, this is just amazing. This helps us out a lot when we start hearing about these cases, or when we start seeing them unfold in the news and online. This is great for us, and then we can get out and share the information with our family and friends who didn't get a chance to hear it firsthand. And, we can start getting more active in the community, doing things that'll start helping us to rectify some of these situations, so thank y'all very, very much. And I know, Fred, you're probably going to do this in the once you post the video, but if they can, one more time, just give their Instagrams.
I'm gonna put all of it. I'm gonna put all in the information box below, the description box below. It'll be there. It'll be there for sure.
Perfect. So I know there's one beautiful young lady we'll see again next Wednesday. So that's easy for Sarge. and the other queens, we'll see them again soon, I guess, once some more stuff starts to unfold.
Anytime. Natasha, come back anytime. I cyber stalk your stories. I'll be like, man, what's going on? Especially when you went to Louisville, man, I was cyber stalking your stories, man. I was like on them like left and right. I don't want to miss.
She got in trouble by her dad. She just tell them she was here.
Oh man, no, but she carries, so she good. She good. She carries. She be walking by that mirror. Hey.
I don't like to check a bag, so I didn't bring nothing to Kentucky. I was relying on Lonita to protect me because I ain't had nothing.
Okay.
The grace of God and
What did you say? Like, what did you text when you said you accidentally included him in the text? And he was like, "What? You didn't get arrested? What are you talking about?"
Oh, that's what I wanted. Can you?
I had told my grandparents that I was going because they had to watch my dog. So of course they're like, "Where are you going?"
Mm-hmm.
And she had this whole long lecture, and I was like, oh, okay, well, y'all be safe, wear your mask, bye. But I was texting them because they started to see more coverage, and I have young cousins in a group chat, so they were like, Natasha, are you in Louisville? Like, we're confused. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't get arrested, but I responded to the dad's side family chat, and he was like, wait, what, arrested? Like, I'm sorry, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm in Louisville. I'm free.
Well, we need more stories out of y'all. I mean, at least 20 or 30 stories, because that's like firsthand information. I was on Tamika's Instagram. I was on the young man from New York. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but those two, my son. I was on his, like, I was consuming all that information. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like,
they have been amazing.
I bet.
Like,
I can feel it. I can literally feel it, you know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. DB?
Sorry, DB. We called you out and then we just...
I didn't hear. What'd she say?
No, I was saying we called you out and we were like, DB, where you at? Where you at? And then we just took complete over.
Yeah.
Hillary from Fresh Prince. Oh, Lord. Are they saying you Hillary from Fresh Prince, Natasha? Y'all know I'm in the comments,
y'all. Before I go, someone asked, thank you, JJ, for calling. He says, I'm going to read it verbatim. Can you ask the ladies if they have ever have a harder time defending someone they think or know is guilty? They both seem to have lots of integrity.
That's not our job.
Yeah, so I did criminal defense. So I started out as a public defender, then I switched to the prosecutor side. It's not that you have a hard time defending them, because as a defense attorney, your job is to do what's right by your client. Mm-hmm. I switched to the other side because I wanted to have more of an impact in giving people resources to make them quit, to stop recidivism, like not coming back into the system. So I prosecuted from an angle of what can I give this person so that I don't see them no more, right? And it just suited, to that point, it suited my personality better than, representing someone that I know may have a drug problem, that if they didn't want to go to drug treatment, I couldn't advocate for drug treatment for them as a defense attorney. That's not my job. It's not to do what's best for them. It's to get the best legal outcome for them, right? So
you on your Robin Hood project. That's called I won't say it now, but yeah, I love it.
Spook people ask all the time, like, how do you go and represent murderers, rapists?
Yeah, we don't do that no more.
Whatever. And my response to them was that, first of all, if I'm representing them, they have not been convicted, so they're not a murderer, they're not a rapist, they're not a burglar. Those are the charges they're accused of. And one thing we do know is that so many people are wrongfully convicted, and a lot of times it's because of inadequate representation from an attorney. So that's not my job. So the way the criminal justice system is set up is that the state, the prosecutor, has a burden of establishing that person is guilty of whatever charge they brought against them beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So I'm there to make sure that person gets a fair trial, that the prosecutors meet their burden. And if there is any room for a reasonable doubt, then at the end of the day, I'd rather for someone who may be guilty go free than someone who is innocent be convicted and sentenced to whatever. Like, that's the injustice.
Cochran said he never asked if they was guilty or not.
You don't ask, but I do want to know all the facts so I'm prepared. Like, I'm not, because some attorneys be like, I don't want to know. No, I want to know. I want to know where you are. I want to know what you were doing there. I want to know what's going on. I know your entire history leading up to that point. I want to know, but I'm very clear on what my role is there. So everyone has to draw their line. My line was anything dealing with like child pornography, pedophilia, I can't, because there's no way that I'm going to cross-examine a child that is accusing this person of doing something like that. So that was my line. But as far as someone accused of murder, yeah, because how many people are in prison right now that we know didn't commit it or have been released recently because DNA came out or whatever additional evidence, and they've been sitting in prison for 10, 20, 30 years and they didn't do the crime. So that's the injustice that I protect.
Fair enough. DB?
Man, I love this. Damn, why can't we go for 2 more hours?
They'll be back. They'll be back. Natasha loved the barbershop. You know what I mean?
I love y'all. Even though people are talking ish, yes, I was on the line of the AG's yard, and he had just moved in a week before. Yes, I was.
Hey, let me tell you, Natasha I'm like, Natasha, we got to get out of here. They come in, they get ready. My role was not to get arrested. It was never in the plan for me to be arrested. I was the person that was supposed to be available to get everybody out. So I'm like, we gotta go. She's like, I want to go. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna be in my car 5 blocks down. I just wait for you.
So talk about the plan, because that was the first question. I'm sorry, but I'm just getting more intrigued. So when y'all had y'all meeting prior to going to the lawn, you guys had your who's going, because you guys know you're going to get arrested, right? Because you're on private property. Is that
most people didn't know what they were doing? They knew they signed up to do something that to engage in civil disobedience, not peaceful protesting, but civil disobedience, right? Go back to civil rights movement. There was a good chance that you may be arrested. I knew I wasn't getting arrested. That wasn't my role. I knew what the plan was, but a lot of people did not know what the whole plan was. So you meet first, you get trained. Don't if the officers come to you, don't fight, don't argue, don't yell in their face, like just go, right? So they did their training, then they went to a place closer to where they could get to their final destination. They took buses.
Yeah, so the entire thing was secret. Like, so the protesters, they knew that I'm going to be involved up to this extent. I might get arrested. I'm willing to get arrested. They didn't want people to kind of like back out, because then you have this list of 200 people.
No, they still have an opportunity to back out though. Like, hey,
no, I'm saying like once you like they took the information of the people who were like, nah, like I'm down for it. So then you have a smaller, more concise list of people to keep track of. You don't want to keep track. There's easily 200 people there. You don't want to keep track of all 200 people when you know that only 87 went to. There must have been more than 200 then.
There was more
sure.
than, so over 300 people signed up. There was more than 87 that originally were in the area of the house. But some people at that point decided, I ain't about that life. Right?
Because they said, get off the lawn or you're going to jail. So you got that last opportunity. And then once people were committed, like, no, I'm not moving. Then at first they stood and, joined hands and made a circle. Then they eventually sat down. And they just started arresting, and it happened so quick. It wasn't a typical protest where time, goes by and they try to incite the crowd and, get this going. It wasn't like that. It was pretty much like, because they got that phone call, get them off my lawn, arrest them all. So they moved fast.
But it's like you said, they had bail money ready. They had attorneys ready. Like, they planned it all the way out. I was the attorney, so I couldn't get arrested. There were some people who was supposed to be posted bail. They could not be. The people with the bail money obviously could not be arrested. Right?
Sure.
I was supposed to play that role too, but I'm just a little bit rebellious, and I don't know. It's something that is very, like, if you haven't experienced a protest like firsthand from that side, then like you have to do it, because there's just like a feeling. It's a vibe, and I don't know. I enjoy them. I enjoy being a part of it. So I get kind of caught up in the moment. And then Lonita was like, well, I'm be in my car. And I'm like, dang. How to keep me out of trouble?
Because you have to think, I wasn't thinking even just from the one, I got my mask up to here. I had my hat on, because I'm engaged in high stakes litigation against the police department right now. So whether it was they wanted to get me for being out there as a protest, or they had saw me and was like, oh, let's get her.
Sure.
I don't know. I ain't had no threats or nothing like that, thank God. But I don't know.
You have to be cautious. That's
like, so I'm like walking with my head down, like I don't want them to see me because all I need is one that's pissed. Like now again, I was friends with a lot of them when I was a prosecutor. A lot of them ain't my friends so much right now. So, oh well.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate Eric Jenkins. Thank you for all the great information. # need all convicted. Arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor. Hey,
I'm gonna name them because you got to get them by name, right? Because they said they living in. Didn't you say that, Natasha? Yeah. Or somebody? No, they get to live under the radar. It's Brett Hankerson, Miles Cosgrove, John Mattingly, and Joshua James is the one that lied on the search warrant.
I have to memorize their names. Murderer 1, Murderer 2, Murderer 3.
Curtis Strickland said, "Keep up the good work and content." But they said you ain't
like they living in. That's why he was able to be in Florida on the beach because nobody know.
Oh, he was in Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, in Destin. He was in like Destin or somewhere. I was busy in Kentucky, but if I would have been.
Well, we appreciate y'all coming in. Go ahead and give you a final take, man. We'll start with Natasha. Go ahead, Natasha.
Final take is, wait, doesn't DB do this? Well, okay, so my final take is that.
That's right, Tosh, tell it.
I was like, listen, DB, I appreciate you. Like I said, I thought you were like a co-host, a part of the show. So I'm
He is.
But I'll still give my 2 cents, and then you come in and give your 5 cents. Okay, we all good. But I just want to encourage everyone to don't think that what's going on is enough, because the system is broken. So don't think that like, oh, well, enough people are speaking up, enough people are doing this, there's enough. It's not enough. Every single person needs to be active. Every single person needs to be speaking out. This is not a time to be silent. So I encourage you to have those very, very uncomfortable conversations with people who you may want to avoid having those uncomfortable conversations with, because like someone said, well, related to what someone said, by us coming here and having these conversations, it allows you to have additional knowledge. Hopefully you gain something from this, so then you can take that knowledge and spread it during those conversations. So that's why sometimes I'm tired when someone asks me a question about this or why they don't support Black Lives Matter. And I'm just like, oh, because I've had that conversation like 5 times this week. But I feel like I have to, because it's not just having that conversation with one person. That person is going to talk to, I always say, like at least 10 people. So by educating or giving your insight to one person, you could literally be affecting 10 or more people just by that one conversation. So it's worth it. So have those uncomfortable conversations. Don't get tired. Like Lonita said, when the hashtags die out, like when it stops being sexy and stops being entertaining, like we still have to care about the platforms that are established by, these tragedies. So I appreciate y'all having me. I love coming by. I'm happy to come anytime that I don't have to be up before like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, because it is 2 o'clock in the morning here.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate the sacrifice. Okay. Lonita.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, yes, we want justice for Breonna. Yes, we want the cops arrested. But more than anything, we have to change the laws, and we have to replace elected leaders who are not working for us. That's local all the way up. So really pay attention to your local elections. Stay engaged. And it is. We have to stay engaged if we're going to tear this system down and rebuild it. So thank you all for the support. Continue to support. Continue to call for the officers to be arrested.
And we will.
Yeah. And thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. Please come back too. We need to hear you again. DB? Oh, Gregory X. I don't answer questions is my only response to any question from any so-called law enforcement. DB?
Yeah. I think Tasha and I think they both summed up what I was going to say. But, as I keep saying over and over again, and I'll keep on repeating this, and I'll be redundant as possible, local elections are super duper important. Stay engaged with what's happening on a local level. Other than that, it's time for us to get out of here. Bring the sound,
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Lonita Baker. We genuinely appreciate you, man. Feel free to click the button. You see that button that say exit the studio? We appreciate you. Please come back. We need more information. Every time y'all come in, it's new information. You know what I mean? And it's just incredibly important that we that we hit the refresh button and get re-inspired. You know what I mean? And we don't say, oh, this is just another hashtag. You know, after a month, 2 months, 3 months, we got to stay invigorated. You know, so thank you. Please, thank you. Come back.
Thank you for this platform and for speaking out on things like this. And Sgt Dorsey, I admire you. And I hope that you continue speaking out on this too, because your experiences are like super relevant and super valid right now. So everyone needs to hear about what you've gone through and your direct experiences from your point of view too. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
You Sgt Dorsey, like, yeah.
You gotta come in. You gotta come and watch on Wednesdays.
I know.
Yeah.
You gotta move it up like at least an hour, so it ain't midnight when we starting.
I know.
You know.
He's like, listen, I've been doing this for a long time. Y'all not gonna come in here and
I have no problem moving it up for you. I have no problem. No problem at all.
Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm so going to tell the judge in the morning if my bag's in my eyes. I was in this that's so fun.
Black don't crack. Cut it out.
Bye, have a great night. Stay safe.
Appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Hey, we did it, Sgt Dorsey.
Hey.
And oh yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot DB was on the phone, man. DB love to say, hey, I figured it out, Sgt Dorsey. I'm gonna show you what we did. I'm gonna show you how to do it. It's my personal statement.
Okay.
Black and Silver, Cash G, Lavelle, DB, Hustler Slim. That's Money. How you doing, Money? What's up, Money? Drew Titan. Appreciate you, Drew, man. Drew covers so many bases, man. What's up, DB? Hustler Slim. OG, what's up? Why not? Rob, your favorite part just played. The Messenger, Bumpy Thompson, G Brown, Box Fans, DB, Tank, what it do? Sir, People Hernandez, all we got is 5 mics. Hey, we appreciate y'all, man. It was a great show tonight, man. We got a lot of information, man, and we appreciate y'all coming out, man. DB, you good? We're going to sing this shit.
Unbelievable.
We're going to sing this shit one more time, man. We come back tomorrow. Turn this shit up one time, man. Let me bust these eardrums real quick. Cause the devil is alive. Hey, I'm telling you the truth. Hey, it's all in what you do. Hey, some things you gotta do. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, appreciate you, DB.
Peace out, family.
Hey, appreciate y'all. Love y'all, man. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
See you guys next week.
Next week. Appreciate y'all. Now you got to end your stream.